Sorry about that, you guys. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Actually, let me just do it like that. Okay, good. Excuse me, let me go get some water. All right. Greetings, family. This is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. I don't know why all of a sudden I have a frog in my throat, but I wanted to finish reading what I started reading for y'all last night. I'm crazy busy today. I had a new job training last night at 9:30. And I'm going to be starting today and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So I wanted to pick up where we left off last night. I bet you I didn't even mark it. Let's see. I was where did we start? The machine. Okay, beyond the machine. Okay. Okay. Okay, so for those who do not know what I am doing, yesterday I got I got a timestamp from a sister who was greeting Shayla, who was listening to my read of the Great Cosmic Mother for the first time. And she just sent a timestamp yesterday morning. And the timestamp blew my mind. So I decided I was gonna read to y'all the chapter. Y'all can go back and read, listen to the Great Cosmic Mother. But this chapter that she sent me was so currently on time. Mind you, I read the book, The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth, 4 years ago. And there's something else I was going to say. I read the Great Cosmic Mother 4 years ago, and the book was written in 1987. And when I tell you I started last night, this is part 2, so go back and listen to the short read that I did last night. Because when I tell you that this shit is so currently relevant that it is damn near spooky. So we're gonna pick up where we left off last night. The chapter is Beyond the Male God and His Machine. We left off at the last paragraph on page 396. So I'm going to read it quick because I got a deadline. As for the ruling elites, to whom patriarchy has given manipulative power over both men and women, the war god has always been a profitable machine. Fueled by their money, it not only returns wealth manyfold, it also returns social order. Patriotism being so often a repressed form of revolutionary energy. So basically what she's saying is that yo ass, you patriots, yo ass, you veterans, yo ass, you police, yo ass, y'all, you feel me? What y'all will do is instead of funneling your righteous rage into something that can win something for everybody that looks like you, your family, you, your hood, you, your crew, you, your world. Instead of doing that, y'all will join the fucking police. That's what y'all will do. And so you are perpetually enacting acts of violence on not only the innocent, on the what's the word I'm looking for? On the unarmed. On the unarmed. Because you're cowards. If you wasn't cowards, you feel me? You would have already taken the shit. You would have already staged the contest. But since you a coward, you a coward, you see, but you still have the rage. You a coward, but you still have the anger and the rage and the frustration of this malignant monstrosity called capitalism, called parasitism, called all these things. You still have all of that. So what happens, because your ass is a coward, what happens is instead of you staging a righteous contest, your ass will join the opposition. And then all that latent rage and frustration about your life and the world at large, instead of using that in the right way, your ass will go out here as a tool of the state, because that's all you are, bitch. You a tool. As a tool of the state to enact violence on the most vulnerable, because you a coward. You see what I'm saying? Because you a coward, you'll never make a revolution. And so the only way that you can purge your rage, that you can purge your aggressions, that you can purge your frustrations, is to go out in the world with a uniform that perpetually absolves you. You hear what I'm saying? The uniform perpetual. Thank you so much, Cosmic Womb. Appreciate you in the shout out from Houston. Love that. You are a coward. And so what will happen is that the coward that you are, the rage that you have is righteous. The anger that you have is just. The frustration you experience is a naturally occurring phenomena in a world that has perpetually had your back against the wall. But instead of doing what any animal in the wild kingdom does when they got their back up against the wall, which is to try to stage some type of contest, instead of doing that, your ass will put on a goddamn uniform. Your ass will go out into the world knowing that the uniform alerts everyone in sight that whatever aggression you commit against the defenseless will be absolved by the state. So when I was telling y'all yesterday, she talking here, go back and go to the reading I did yesterday. But she said war is God. Money is God in this shit right here. And if money and war are the gods, if money and war are the gods, you feel me? What was I going to say, Dang? If money and war are the gods that require, that demand unending, perpetual brigandage. Listen, if you worship a godhead of war, bitch, and that's what we all up in here afflicted by. We done gave life to him, you feel me? The godhead of war. We done sacrificed our children to him, so-called veterans. We done We done sacrificed our children to him. Public education, that's perpetually damning. If you live in a society that was erected, given birth to as a god of war, then everything that it creates to sustain itself is feeding the Godhead. It ain't feeding you. It ain't taking care of you. So your ass is up in here politically perplexed, about what Trump doing with his billionaire cabinet, and this is America, and this ain't supposed to happen in America. What is he doing? He trying to be a king. America was given birth to as a godhead of war. But you can still declare, how can he do this? This is America. This is not the America I know and love. This and this and this and this. I just saw an interview with this girl who was testifying before the committee or some shit in Washington. This young woman, I think she was 25, 26 years old, Mexican woman, who was an elementary school teacher. She did this whole presentation about how she go to church every Sunday. I have never broken the law. I came here legally. I am a legal resident. I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And what that meant was her being in the wrong place at the wrong time was in the pursuit, in an ICE agent's pursuit of somebody else. She trying to get out of the way because he driving all crazy on the goddamn road. And so she think he about to turn one way, so she goes the other way, but he trying to go the same way. And so they end up like sliding against each other. He get mad, and so he chases her. And instead of, quote, trying to pull her over, he 7 times into this baby's car. This girl was 25 years old. Shot into her car 7 times. Hit her body 7 times, man. An ICE agent shot this baby 7 times, multiple times in her legs and in her arms. She's testifying before the Senate or the House or whatever they doing. She going through this whole diatribe about how she a good citizen, and she go to church every Sunday, and she pay her taxes and all of this shit. And when she talks about this person, so I was rooting for her. I was like, go ahead, because she was like, I'm gonna say his name because people need to know his name and what he did to me, this and that, and this and that dude that shot her, and all the terrible stuff that happened to her when she went to the hospital. This was crazy. It was a crazy story. And you know how she wrapped that story up? This ain't the America I grew up knowing. I came here when I was however the fuck old she was. I was 5, whatever. This ain't the America I grew up knowing and loving. That's how she wrapped that up. So here I was bigging her up because she was strong. She was like, I am going to call his name because he a criminal and this and that and this and that. He attempted to kill me. That's what he intended to do. And then she gonna wrap it up by saying, can you bring back the America I know and love? I said, y'all, if y'all don't stop with that bullshit, y'all better stop with that bullshit. What did I say yesterday when we was reading this shit? If America is a godhead of war, just like every other male-dominated country on the planet, which is them all. If America's a godhead of war, then your president is the king. Yeah, he is. Huh? Your elected officials, they the bishops. You feel me? Your other elected officials who control the apparatus of the state that is more violent, the judges, the juries, the police, the prison guards, and all that. These the generals. There is no separation of church and state. How y'all keep saying that? How y'all keep avoiding the obvious? There is no separation of church and state. There is no separation of church and state because the temple is America. The Godhead is a war Godhead. It's Jesus. That's the war god. It's Jesus. And his ugly ass pappy Yahweh. You feel me? That's it. America is a temple. Politically, economically, so-called spiritually. So let me go ahead and finish reading. I don't want to be diatribing too much, but she went off on this, and I gotta figure out the woman's name who left the timestamp yesterday, because me listening to the timestamp first thing yesterday morning while I was in the shower had me up in here screaming. It shaped the rest of my day, y'all, this reading. So let me go ahead. Social order. You hear me? Peace. What y'all call peace? Social order allows the ruling elite to enjoy the profits of war in relative peace. You hear what I just said? Did y'all even hear what I had just said? Social order. Remember I talked yesterday about how social order is the greatest commodity in a parasitically bloated, gluttonous, opulent, capitalist society. That's where we at. People talking about doing whole dissertations about, late stage capitalism. Fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. Really, fuck y'all. This is capitalism as it has always been. Late stage capitalism, my entire black ass. No. Not no late stage capitalism. This is the parasitic, diabolical nature of the institution as it has always been. Social order. There's a y'all know the group Dead Prayers. They're a hip hop group, a revolutionary hip hop group, right? And at the beginning of one of their songs, the name of the song is Police State. And at the beginning of the song, they do a clip of the chairman of the organization I used to be in and they used to be in, the African People's Socialist Party. And chairman did this presentation years ago, but he said the state emerged. This is me paraphrasing. The state emerges at a period in human society where there is a split between those who have and those who ain't got. You feel me? Salote Tasa, how you doing? It's so good to see you. It's been some days. Okay, it says that the state emerges the state only emerges in human society when you have in that society a split between those who have and those who ain't got. Those who ain't got, what is it that stops them? This is still me paraphrasing. What is it that stops them from going and getting what they ain't got from those who have every motherfucking thing? What is it that stops these 65,000 homeless people in the goddamn city of Los Angeles? What stops them from leaving the place where they are homeless, you feel me, and going to the place where they know there is an exorbitant abundance of every motherfucking thing? It's the state. It's the state. What I'm talking about is the police. What I'm talking about is these invisible barriers drawn throughout the city that make sure that poverty stays exactly where it is, so that the rich people over here are not offended by the presence of poverty. I want to say one more thing, because y'all know I'm running for mayor. And every time I talk to people about the fact that I'm running for mayor, because I don't have my website up yet, the first thing that people over the last week have asked me, because I've been collecting my signatures, is, are you going to defund the police, right? Like, that's everybody's big thing, is defund the police, right? And these people, it's so intriguing to me. It's so interesting to me how many people consider themselves socialists, right? How many people, especially in this city, how many people consider themselves socialists? I be really wondering where y'all learn y'all socialism at. Where y'all learned y'all socialism at? Where y'all got y'all education from? Because what is socialism? It's social. How is socialism different from communism? You well-learned, self-proclaimed socialist who are hollering about abolition and defunding the police. Where you learned your socialism at? Where you learned your socialism at? Because I'm not a socialist, so I'm giving y'all shit right now. But the socialism that I learned in 15 years of hardcore cadre style organizing, the socialism that I learned, the dogma that I learned, was that socialism was the necessary stage, the proletariat in arms seizing possession of the state, not destroying the state. That's your socialism. See, socialism tells you that, the theory tells you that in order for communism to emerge, socialism must emerge first. What is socialism? This is the line, okay? It is the workers in arms. You know what? I need to teach a workshop right now. God damn it. Shit. Hold on. Because some of y'all, I don't believe y'all as socialists as y'all think y'all is. Okay? Some of y'all, and I'm not a socialist. Now I can see, because I was a hardcore gangster ass socialist for 20 years. I got red stars tattooed on my face. Like I was really about that life. You feel me? And it wasn't until I started getting in this work with the mother that she was like, that ain't the way either. That ain't the way either. But the difference between capitalism, socialism, and socialism, and communism is very easy. They deliberately complicate this shit. What am I always telling you? Keep it simple. Keep it simple. What am I always telling you? You keep it simple, because that is the antithesis of what? Your adversary. Who is your adversary? The author of all confusion. He deliberately makes everything confusing to keep you away from power. You feel me? The whole concept, even when I was taking business schools in college, I was like, that's not what capitalism is. Why y'all playing? I'm having to go toe to toe with the goddamn professor on why his assessment. Every time some capitalists talk about how capitalism is free market, bitch, fuck you. Fuck you. And they will still teach that shit at college level. That's not what capitalism is. Not politically. That's not economically. That's not what capitalism is. This is capitalism. Capitalism is very simple. Capitalism is what we call social production of value, social production of wealth, right? So the majority of us down here. So when you're talking about socialism and you're talking about, quote, the working class, why are you called a worker? At least where this theory is concerned. Why are you called a worker? Does anybody know why you're called a worker? Where socialist communist theory is concerned. Do you know why you're called a worker? You're called a worker because, based on economics, everything on this planet that has any value, right? Its value can only be ascertained by the labor and the number of laborers. I ain't spelling, right? Wealth is established by the labor and the number of laborers, and also the minimum value. I'll just put a dollar sign. The minimal amount of money that it takes to sustain the life of laborers. Subsistence. The subsistent, the bare minimum that we have to pay our laborers to produce the most profit, right? Of the life of the laborer. Okay. So this is how on the market, bitch. This is how all value is determined. This is not the actual equation, but I'm trying to simplify. All value on earth, all wealth on earth is established through an equation that factors in the amount of labor, the number of laborers that were necessary to do what? Because listen, doctors, let me not get ahead of myself. Where does value come from? Remember we had this conversation not too long ago about E equals MC squared and how that shit blew my whole mind. You feel me? So say you have a tree in the goddamn Amazon. You feel me? And these trees are giant. They much more giant than the trees here in the United States because we done killed so many of the trees, they don't even grow back to their original splendor. Okay? So this is a tree. And under capitalism, a tree up in the ground, dropping fruit, doing its thing, filtering the air, giving us oxygen. This is not my opinion. A tree doing what it do in nature has no value. This is what capitalism says. This raw material, because see, capitalism sees this tree as untapped raw materials. That's all it sees it as. It doesn't see it as a necessary component for the sustaining of life. It sees it as an untapped raw material. So while that raw material is just growing out of the ground doing its damn thing, a capitalist says, this tree has no value. Once the capitalist determines that this raw material don't have no value doing what it do on its own, then it says, okay, I need about 5 men because the tree is bigger than the trees over here. We need about 5 men to cut the tree down. That's labor. We need some men to strip the bark off the tree, cut the tree down so that's the second impact of labor. Then once it's stripped down and cut down to a manageable size, then we need some more men to load it onto a ship, like a freight ship thing, so it can be shipped to factories over in America. That's more labor. And that's resources. That's oil. You feel me? That's the labor to drive the ship. You feel me? Then this is all about the tree. Then we're going to take this raw material that has now labor attached to it, time attached to it, labor attached to it, sweat attached to it, right? We're going to ship it over here to one of these factories, and based on what we see the potential for this tree to be, we may ship it to a factory where it becomes paper. We may ship it to a factory where it becomes furniture. We may ship it to a factory where it becomes a plethora of other things. That is more labor. After it is processed to do the things that they want it to do. So say it has been turned into a chair, this tree that all of these hands have touched. Now the tree is a chair. Okay. How they establish the value of the chair is based on how many hands and how many hours have contributed to the transforming of this tree from a quote valueless raw material to something that can now be sold on the market for human consumption. This is how all value is established. The problem is that the chain of that is necessary, the chain of humans that is necessary. Ew. The chain of humans that is necessary to transform this quote valueless raw material into something that can be sold on the market for human consumption. This is where you get this is the basis of exploitation, because while this tree is growing out the ground doing its own damn thing in South America somewhere, right? And you get some locals from South America to cut the tree down, they are not going to pay the local in South America who cut the tree down the same amount of money they would pay some lumberjack in Washington or Oregon to cut the tree down. See what I'm saying? They would not pay the person in the next country who going to do the strip in and the cut in and this and that before it go on the ship. They would not pay that person, that colored person in the globally imposed creation of the so-called third world. They ain't gonna pay them what they would pay somebody in Europe or what they would pay somebody in North America to do that same labor. They ain't gonna do that, because if they did that, they would make no profit. Do you understand? And so this applies to everything. The reason human beings are called workers, which I'm opposed to, the reason, according to socialist ideology, that human beings are called workers is because we too are seen as valueless raw materials until we can be put to work to put our hands on nature and transform, quote, moot, useless nature into something that can be transformed and sold on the market for human consumption. It is human beings transforming nature that creates all value on earth. Everything of value is created by the poorest people on the goddamn planet. Everything of value, everything that you hold dear, everything that you don't even think about twice. Your phone, your everything, your TV. Listen, on any given day, there are whole ass, unbroken, big screen TVs all along the side of the road here in this country, here in this city. So again, it is human beings touching and transforming nature that produces all value. So if it is human beings putting their hands on and transforming nature that creates all value, why is it that the people who make the most money are those who never put their hands on nature to create something that can be used on the market for human consumption? Why is that? Why is it that it is the ideologues who are the millionaires or the billionaires? Why is it those who just think all the time? That she talks about in this book, about the fracturing of human beings and the simultaneous elevation of the white male ideologue, the white male spiritualist, the white male scientist, all of the things that, because in the patriarchy, mind, invisible, intangible spirit, all of those things, like I was telling y'all about yang, yang exists, but it is not perceptible. Most of the times it's not perceptible, right? It is exuberant. You feel me? You can see the fire. It's perceptible that way, but you can't touch it. You can't taste it. You can't smell it. You can smell the impact of it on nature. Yes, you can, right? This is still about yin and yang, by the way. But this is capitalism. Capitalism says that everything in nature, this comes from the Old Testament, but they still move based on the dogma of these Abrahamic religions. The Old Testament tells them that they have a right to maintain dominion over the whole planet. What does that mean? That means everything and everyone in and on the planet. That's why ain't nobody been arrested for the Epstein files, because y'all belong to us. Y'all are here to serve our every whim and desire. That's what y'all exist for. That's what their dogma tells them. That's what their Torah tells them. That's what their Old Testament in the KJV tells them. That's what their Quran tells them. That's what their Bhagavad Gita tells them. That is what all of them. You feel me? Not including gold. Peter says everything on the earth. Everything tangible. What is everything tangible? Everything yin. What is everything yin? Everything perceptible. Every crystal, every rock, every grain of sand, every thing is in the mind of a malignant ass patriarch. Everything that exists for the sole purpose of him becoming rich by exploiting the labor of some human who is going to put his hands on nature and transform it into something that he doesn't benefit from, but his owner is going to benefit from. His boss is going to benefit from. You feel me? Everything. Water. There's a documentary y'all should see. The documentary is called Water Wars. Water Wars. Why would there be a documentary called Water Wars? Because and we accepted it, and we still accept it, and we still do it. We go out because we gonna have a barbecue and buy a 64 giant pack of single-use plastic bottles of water stolen from some aquifer in some so-called third world country where the people are literally being assassinated for having the audacity to fight to protect their own water sources. And we over here every Sunday, every football game, we got a whole cooler, a bottle of waters and shit. Why would there be a goddamn documentary called? Do you know that there is one couple in the state, of California, that has strategically over the last 30 years, this old ass, cracker ass, rabid ass, dog ass couple, old as Methuselah. They own the pomegranate. Y'all know the cute little shaped like a woman pomegranate juice y'all like to drink? They own it. You know them cute little bags, them little green bags of pistachios? They own it. This couple who over the last 30 years has strategically bought up public water you and I pay for. They own it, and we pay them, and the city pays it. Child, the city sells our water to billionaires, and so every time we pay our water bill, we paying this old white couple who done bought up water aquifers from all over the goddamn state. You hear me? That's why you got to have a documentary called goddamn Water Wars and shit. Anyway, because everything is a commodity under parasitic capitalism. Everything is up for sale. My mentor, when I was in the party, an elder, used to tell me all the time that capitalists are so blindly greedy that they will sell you the rope to hang them with. They'll sell you the rope to hang them with. You feel me? Anyway, so that's that. So here you have, and the whole basis of that little diatribe is in a capitalist society, just like on your dollar bill, this is called social production of wealth. Social production of wealth. And up here, the them is private ownership of wealth. Private ownership of wealth, social production of wealth, right? And so the example the chairman used to use all the time is like, say, you got the workers down here, and the workers work in a car factory, right? And in this car factory, they produce 65 Mercedes Benzes a day. All of them together, everybody that work in that factory playing their role, all of them together every day, are just that one factory is shelling out, completely making 65 Mercedes Benzes a day. On the wages that they make, generating all of this wealth, on the wages that they make, they are never going to own a Mercedes Benz. See, the social production of that wealth, but you have no stakes in, you have no ownership of that wealth which you produce because it's privately owned. You feel what I'm saying? In the so-called socialist model, and I don't necessarily know that this downward facing triangle is actually correct, but that's what they say. Okay, so in a socialist society, in socialism, and socialism means the workers in arms, there is still a state. Oh, so let me just say something about capitalism. It's not just the economic aspect. How do you ensure such an extreme imbalance in the distribution of wealth? Here it is, you make every motherfucking thing, but somebody else owns everything you produce. How do you maintain such an extreme imbalance of wealth, of value that's produced? How do you do that? How do you sleep peacefully at night, knowing that your ass is a billionaire that is robbing you blind? The state, just like I said, the state becomes necessary in human society when there is an extreme split between those who have and those who ain't got. The state becomes necessary. The state is everything. The state is all the obvious stuff. The violent apparatuses of the state is the police, it's the courts, it's the jails, it's the prisons, it's the military, that's all one. That's the violent aspect of the state. Brute force keeping your ass in place. You feel me? The other aspect of the state that we don't really talk about as much as we should, that is equally violent, but its violence is subversive. Its violence is not overt. Its violence is destructive, no less destructive than if you was taking a bullet in your heart, but it's slow death. It's slow destruction. It's framed as entertainment. You see? Propaganda is the other aspect or the other arm of this militantly violent state that is required to maintain the split between those who have and those who ain't got. And so what happens is, that's why I got so angry with y'all. Any of y'all who've been following my shit for more than a month, I'm angry with you if you watch the Super Bowl. I don't give a fuck. That's the bare minimum, is to take a principled position about these institutions that you know rely particularly on Black people to participate. So anyway, so you've got the propagandistic aspect of the state, right? That's you going to the movies. I'm not giving y'all a hard time. I'm just telling you what the state is, right? I'm just telling you what it is, right? So you've got the militant, armed, coercive, destructive, police killings and all of that shit. That's the violent arm of the state. The subversive arm of the state is entertainment, primarily. It's propaganda, okay? The purpose of propaganda is to teach you all the time, whether it's billboards, whether it's your favorite jam, whether it's your favorite movies, no matter what entertainment you are engaged in. I'm trying to tell you, while this version of the state remains, it is always going to be teaching you how to self-police. That's what it's for. Entertainment under a parasitic state apparatus. The only purpose that it serves is to use your culture, is to use your expressions, is to use your art, is to use your genius to teach you how to self-police, to not buck back. That's why some of my favorite movies, I'm like, why they do that? Why they do that? Because there ain't too many movies that you can see, especially over the last maybe 25, 30 years. There ain't too many movies. Now, back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, you might have movies that had a, quote, happy ending. Somebody was just talking about it the other day, like, what happened to happy endings in movies? Like, why don't they have any happy endings in movies anymore? Why everybody die in the end? Because the state is digging its heels in. You feel me? So the state needing to do what it does, which is to teach you to self-police, cannot afford for you to be getting no ideas about how to buck back. We need your ass to self-police. So like there's a movie that I really love, called Law Abiding Citizen. It came out about 15 years ago, I think. Yeah, about 15 years ago. I love the movie. The disclaimer is, particularly if you are female or female adjacent, I've seen the movie a bunch of times, but the first maybe 10 minutes of the movie, I always skip right through. It comes right out the gate. Disturbing, like extraordinarily disturbing. I don't ever watch. I've watched that first part one time. There's another movie that had that same impact on me. The movie Lovely Bones with Mark Wahlberg. And when he had the opportunity, when his daughter told him that the man that was talking to him was the man that killed her, and he didn't murk that motherfucker right there where he was standing, and then at the end, the way the dude died was by an accidental death. They make movies this way to teach you to self-police. What does self-policing mean? It means teaching you that revenge is never right. That vengeance is never just. You have to let the state do what it do. You got to what? You got to let the process work. Why y'all out here in these streets throwing rocks in these people's windows? You just got to chill and let the process work. And when, quote, if hardly ever, but the one time, every once in a blue moon, the process work and somebody go to jail, why your spirit is not at ease once the process work? Why do you still feel this weight once the process works and somebody who has transgressed against you and yours go to prison? Why do you not feel at ease? Huh? Because your ass is a fake. And the deeper part of you, who's the deeper part of you? The baby giant. Who's the deeper part of you? The baby giant. Who is the deeper part of you? The baby giant, fighting and screaming and yelling all the time. Let me loose so I can defend us. Let me loose so I can get revenge. Let me loose on this motherfucker so we can right all wrongs. That's why your spirit still be harassed when you go into a courtroom and some white dude in a black robe and a white collar who's supposed to be the face of blind justice. And everything in your spirit is telling you this is bullshit. The whole pomp and circumstance of it. Every time you walk into a goddamn courtroom, bitch, you are walking into a ritual. You're walking into a ceremony erected by your goddamn enemy. That's what you are doing. That's why everything is so sanctimonious and ceremonial. Because we live in a country that has been erected as a godhead of war. I'm trying to tell you, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Why these cops always got the little either 6-pointed star or 5-pointed star on their left side? Huh? Why they do that? Why do they have these shocking red and blue oppositional lights that every time you see them lights, your heart skip a beat? All of this shit is a fucking ritual. All of it. Every time they kill some unarmed black, brown, or native person in this country, the reason that they get off, not only the reason that they get off, so many of them get promoted. Do you ever ask why somebody who's done all this terrible shit, why they get promoted? It is because for every one of us, these cops kill. Their promotion is the evidence of their absolution. This is a ritual that we live in. America is a fucking temple that we live in. And when you shed blood, especially innocent blood, what do we talk about? With Jews, with Judaism. What do we talk about? For months and months and months, what do we talk about? The cornerstone of Judaistic practices in the Old Testament is that you had to have 2 goats, because they used to sacrifice goats first. You had to have 2 goats. One goat had to have this whole ceremony where all your sinning ass shit, all your sinning ass diabolatry, you can do a ceremony to take all your sins off of you and put them in this clean goat. Once all your sins is off of you through this ceremony and on the goat, you done take all your sins and all the sins of your community and put them in this goat. Then you take the goat far, 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 far away from you and yours and let them loose out in the wilderness. This is what's called the scapegoat. This is where it comes from. Where you, scapegoat, you understand, is now the most evil thing ever because you have taken on to yourself all the sins of these diabolical sinning ass bitches. Do y'all ever even read the Old Testament? Every time you turn around, they God that they love is constantly kicking their ass. The whole Old Testament. They're like, damn, God, we done made you mad again. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Was it Joseph that was like, yo, like, when are you gonna ease up on us? I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, damn, like, you've been mad for a long time. We done been being punished for a long time. Like, when you gonna ease the fuck up on us? And God was like, when y'all can start acting right. That's the whole Old Testament. The whole Old Testament. And in God's eyes, what is acting right? What is acting right in Yahweh's eyes? Bitch, y'all ain't gave me enough blood. That's what's acting right. Y'all ain't gave me enough blood. So the other goat, who is also innocent, right? Because what does Jesus tell you? Why y'all Christians? Because Jesus, as God, had to come and demonstrate to others how you can live in this filthy ass flesh and still never commit a sin in your whole life. Isn't that what Jesus came here to teach y'all? Is how to suffer. What? How to, quote, carry your cross. How to live a life completely abstaining from anything that gives the flesh pleasure. And so Jesus, quote, as God, come down here and teach you how to suffer, bitch. He taught you how to suffer. That's what he came here to do, is to teach you how to suffer in a way that it pleases the great God in heaven. I'm happy when I see you bitches suffering. I love it. I love it when I hear you screaming and crying. I love it. What does the scripture say? When Cain gave God grains. Cain was like, look, I'm an agriculturalist. This is part of my bounty. I'm so proud of it. This is what I'm gonna offer to you, God. And then Abel was like, let me go out here and kill some shit. And so Abel came back and, sparked up the grill, you feel me, and put his little murdered offering on the grill. And God accepted Abel's offering and shunned Cain's. Grains, bitch. I don't want that shit. He says, I love the smell of flesh coming into heaven. That's what he said. He said, I live for it. That's what he said. You feel me? And so Cain was like, deuces, bitch, fuck you too. You understand? This bullshit. My hard ass work, bitch. All this nigga had to do was go and take something that ain't did nothing to him, take his life, and that's cool. But I have to work a whole year to get these beautiful grains and crops to grow up. I give you goddamn 25% of my yield, and you gonna spit on my shit, bitch? Fuck you too. I rock with Cain, bitch. That might need to be a t-shirt for the temple. I'm riding with Cain, bitch. Anyway, so he loves the sounds and the smells of suffering. This is your war God. He loves the sounds and smells of suffering. And he say it. I love this. S. Taylor 99. Let's go. She say Team Cain. Let's go. Okay. And so I don't even know how I got up on that. But let's see what y'all talking about over here on IG. Arthur Schopenhauer is a philosopher, and he teaches that life is pain, and it's about minimizing the amount of pain you are living with, because happiness and joy is just the teeny relief of what life is, just pain. I have a position, and it's probably going to end up being a book, this position. But my intention is to go back and revisit every philosopher from Socrates forward. We might have to write this book together, ladies. But every philosopher from goddamn Socrates to present day, and write a whole book displaying how their philosophies have been the philosophies of patriarchs who let me not go that deep. Listen, because I got to get up out of here in a minute. Okay, so socialism. Let me just go ahead and run this down for you, because then I'll read the rest of this later. Okay, Socialism. So the state is necessary. If you're going to be a billionaire, but you don't want the people who are creating those billions to stage of goddamn mutiny, you need the police. You need the goddamn military. You need the, quote, all-seeing eye of Big Brother that's forever surveilling everything you doing, even when you take your ass home. Why you need a Big Brother? Because Big Brother is the inversion of the mother's all-seeing eye. You see? Big Brother is all-seeing because he got to see what you doing, so you don't raise up and go get your shit. Feel me? That's what that is. Okay? So the state is the key mechanism in a capitalist society. Capitalism could not exist without the state. However, socialism, now this is just based on Marxist-Leninist theory, okay? But socialism, which is the workers in arms, it is what Marx said was the working class becoming conscious of its own material interests. See, when y'all take to the streets talking about hell no, we won't go, no justice, no peace, you are not conscious of your collective material interest. When you take to the streets, hell no, we won't go, no justice, no peace. When you take to these streets, you are an unconscious, blind, dumb, deaf, mute, what's the word I'm looking for? Reactionary. You see what I'm saying? You are hot under the collar because some shit done jumped off, and your natural response, because the state fed it to you through entertainment, through propaganda, that the only way under a democratic society that you can get things done is through the democratic process, and protesting is a part of the allowable process to get your voice heard. Yeah, they'll hear your voice and they'll still turn around and do the exact opposite of what you was out there yelling in them streets about. You feel me? They'll say, all right, give these motherfuckers about a week, and then they all got to go back to work, and then we still gonna let the cop go free. You feel me? Or whatever. So in this society where they're talking about the, quote, overthrow of the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie is what y'all call the 1%, what y'all call the billionaire class, what y'all call the plutarchs or the oligarchs, right? Now that's the new current bourgeoisie. Back in them days, it was the monarchy. It was the kings and the queens. It was the fucking church. This was the bourgeoisie, okay? And it is only when the workers become conscious. So like so many of these, quote, robot movies, these android movies supposedly are talking about the period in human history based on Marxist-Leninist theory when the workers become conscious. Become conscious of what? Become conscious of their collective material interest. When they talk about class consciousness, this is why so many white socialists be missing the motherfucking boat. The boat is because white people will, all so-called progressive white socialists will be like, it's not a race issue, it's a class issue. Bitch, it's both. Bitch, it's both. Not only just both, bitch, it is a race issue first. Not, you know what? Let me walk that back. It is a gender issue first, a race issue second, and a class issue last. And it's real fucking convenient for white socialists to say it's not a race issue, it's a class issue, and we're all in this together, despite the fact that since Reagan took office, the white working class in the United States of America is the wealthiest working class on the planet, on Earth. But we all in this together. You feel me? No, we can be all in this together. We can be all in this together. But you have to recognize the specific and central role that women play, the central and specific role that colored women play, the most specific role that Black women play in this edifice that we call capitalism. To overlook that, and Native women. and Native women. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear no black-skinned, nappy hair ass having, big nose, big lip, big booty ass having black person talk about, oh, they Siberians. They came over here from Asia. Bitch, listen. Them Siberians been here 33,000 motherfucking years. Fuck y'all. They got as much right to lay claim to this land with the millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions of their ancestors whose bodies fertilize the land that we all stand on. Don't do that dumbass shit. That's some cracker shit. Don't do that dumbass shit. Don't do that dumbass shit. You can be black as me. You can be blacker than me and still be indigenous. You can be red. You can be yellow-esque, living on motherfucking reservations in this goddamn country and still claim indigeneity. Stop doing that. Stop talking about how Native Americans, straight hair, black hair, having Native Americans is goddamn Asians or Siberians, and these motherfuckers been here 33,000 years at least. Stop doing that. That's some really gross, malignant, fucked up shit. And the world that we're trying to create is completely antithetical to socialism, completely antithetical to capitalism. We're talking about this age where Saturn and Pluto are reigning the terrain. What is Saturn about? The dissolution and creation of what? Borders, boundaries, restrictions. Isn't that what this whole shit is about right now? Were there boundaries? Were there boundaries before the colonial period? Don't we hear stories all the time about how Africans from the West Coast was coming over here to and fro? That's why you can find peanuts in Africa and they don't grow there, and that's why you can find coffee in South America and it's indigenous to Africa. It's because before the sun gone roll came out and started quote discovering the world. There were stories all over of black and brown and red people having commerce, doing business, saying like, I like it over here. I'm gonna post up. Y'all all right with that? Yeah, we all right with that. Y'all cool with us? I went to go see the Mayan codices at the what's the name of this museum? The Getty, and they had this child. That shit rocked my skull. It take a lot to rock my skull. That exhibit of these collected codices of the Mayan people and these y'all, I'm showing y'all my grimoire. My grimoire is huge. They had grimoires this goddamn big. Grimoires are books for people who don't know, like witchy books, right? These giant ass grimoires written by the monks and the priests who came to South America with the conquistadors, writing everything, drawing pictures. Look at this plant. We ain't never seen this kind of plant. Look, everything. Every person that they met, every single one of these codices written by these European Spaniards that came over here, and they had different codices when the French came over here, when the Spaniards came over here, when the British came over here, when the Portuguese came over here. Each one of their codices in contact with the exact same people. The people look different. These monks is drawing the people. When they make first contact, they ain't just seeing one color person. They are literally drawing all these people who are all these different shades in South America. So please shut the whole entire fuck up with that dumbass shit. That police ass generated, stimulated, seeded into your conscious ass shit. Now I'm gonna stop with that diatribe because I do got to get up out of here. Okay, so socialism, what Marx and Lenin say is that once the working class become conscious, once they become collectively conscious of their own material interests, what are their material interests? To get their shit back from the motherfuckers up here who stole it. That's when they become conscious, collectively conscious. Who is the working class? Everybody, baby. Even these malignant white, people that they exploit on some white supremacist shit, they are the working class. Once they become conscious of their material interest, ideally, based on the theory, they would no longer see race as the issue that confounds their life. You feel me? Once the white working class, once the Mexican working class, once the African working class, the indigenous working class, the native working class becomes collectively conscious of their own material interest. What is their material interest? To live an exuberant life. To live where the norm, your default, is happiness and ease and leisure. That's the default. So once the working class becomes conscious of their material interest, the only conclusion that they can come to is an armed revolution. That's what socialism teaches, that the only way to transform society from a capitalist society to a socialist society is armed struggle. That's the line. That's not what I'm promoting. That's not what I'm saying, because I would tell y'all a million times, I am not a socialist. But this is the line, that the only way to rectify what has happened is under the leadership of a conscious working class engaged in armed struggle. Those are the two things necessary to transform a capitalist society to a socialist society. Okay? So once the workers, they call it the workers in armed, or the armed proletariat. Once the conscious workers, so say tomorrow, they set the shit off and they win the revolution. You feel me? They liberate the banks. They go and seize possession of their houses, because they houses. You feel me? They go and get all their shit back. The armed, conscious workers. You feel me? The proletariat. Say the revolution is won. You still have a, quote, former bourgeoisie that has been told for 4,000 years that everything that it possesses, it has a right to possess. Everyone it kills, it has a right to kill. Everyone it oppresses, it has a right to oppress. Everything that it sets its sights on belongs to it. You still have a very brainwashed, highly invested, quote, former bourgeoisie. What you think about to happen to the bourgeoisie that you just overthrew and won your revolution? Where they going to? What that shit gonna look like? That's why the difference, the primary difference between socialism and communism, theoretically, is that socialism represents the period in human society where the state must remain. Where the state must remain. In this socialist society, now you have us up here and them down here. You see? So what's the us? It's still the majority that come together to produce all the wealth. What? The social collective production of all wealth. And then you had the private ownership up here. Under socialist society, you have social production and social ownership of that which you produce. All this wealth that you producing, now it belongs to all of you, to the majority. You feel me? So you have social production and social ownership up on the top. Okay? This is still an imbalance, right? So according to the theory, how do you maintain this imbalance where the social producers of wealth that are now the social collective owners of wealth, and you still got this raging, raving mad, lunatical former bourgeoisie who is still going to be plotting and scheming on how to take back what they had created? You feel me? They still gonna be plotting and scheming. They ain't gonna go out peacefully. They're gonna be plotting and scheming. So in this flipping upside down of the triangle, the reason that the state is necessary here is, one, to put on trial those among the thems that survived the revolution, in theory, those among them that survived who have been the participants, the willing, enthusiastic, or complicit participants in the devastation of the planet. Something got to happen to them. Something got to happen to them. They got to go somewhere. Somebody got to pay. According to Marx and Lenin, this is why the state is still necessary after a successful socialist revolution. But now the state serves the many, not the few. The state is still a part of the workers in arms. Do you understand? So the state is still the same thing. It's the police, it's the jails, it's the prisons, it's the army, it's the military, it's the propaganda. So now you got to create all new propaganda that tries to solidify, tries to anchor in the consciousness of everyone the rightness of those who create all the wealth to be the beneficiaries of the wealth that they produce. That sound like common sense, don't it? Sound real? That sound real nice. That's the shit that won me. You feel me? And then you have to have this violent apparatus. The state is always violent. The state is always violent. Okay? So you have to have a violent, coercive state apparatus to make sure that the bourgeoisie never regain power. This is socialism. And the theory is that after a long, undetermined period of time, when all the old former bourgeoisie people them get old and die off or whatever they think is about to happen, then, oh my God, I think they did this on purpose. I'm having a whole moment right now. Okay? Because this ain't what I learned in socialism, but I'm having a whole moment right now. And that's why this shit is crazy. Because when there is a harmonious union on the planet, now I forget the dude's name, but he called it utopia. You feel me? Where none need labor. You hear me? None need toil or labor for those things that are required to live on planet. Food, clothes, shelter, minimally. But those things that free you up to become artistic and exploratory and this and that and this and that. So communism has always been called a utopia. That the idea of communism exists as this notion that once the workers in arms governing for a undetermined long period of time where the ideas of the bourgeoisie have just evaporated into the ethos and nobody accepts that shit anymore because the workers in arms are doing such a good job and everything is just awesome and everybody got everything they need and shit, that eventually the former bourgeoisie will stop fighting back and concede to the benefits of socialism. And when that happens, this is according to the theory, that point in human society where the state is no longer necessary, they call it the withering away of the state. That point in human society where the state is no longer necessary to maintain the society, this is supposedly communism. The point in what Marx called his theory of human development, that point in human development where the state is no longer necessary, this is communism. This is the grand European utopia. The problem with it is that his ideas on human development start with what he calls primitive communalism. What is primitive communalism? It was him and all these other white folks in Europe catching hell, globe-trotting to and fro to see how Negroes was living, to see how Indians was living, to see how people in South America was living, to see how people who were, in Southeast Asia, not so much contact with the state and shit, how there were no hierarchies, you understand, in the society, people who were above others, there was no hierarchies, there was no poverty, there was no starvation. Everybody ate, everybody lived, everybody thrived, like Lewis Morgan being allowed to live among the Iroquois. And he's like, they ain't got no jails. They ain't got no punitive system. Like, how is everybody so happy? How all these Indians got these beautiful pearly teeth and all our teeth is falling out our head over here in Europe? How they did that? This is what they called primitive communalism. When colored folks live peacefully among each other, when colored folks have everything that they need, and there is no such thing as a person in the community starving while everybody else all right, that shit, they couldn't even conceive of it. You feel me? When colored folks do it, it's primitive communalism. It is only a valid, scientific, strategic, mathematically predictable move through real human development, which requires slavery, serfdom, wage exploitation. This is Marx in Das Kapital. He said, in order for Europe to move through the stages of human development, there must be slavery, there must be serfdom, there must be wage exploitation in the Industrial Revolution. Then as we learn more, you feel me? As we become more and more conscious, as we become more and more intellectual, you feel me? Then these extremes in the capitalist society will change. But capitalism will change with it, and it'll get smarter and more insidious on how to facilitate the exploitation. You feel me? And then there's gonna come a point where the shit apex, and there ain't no choice but to make a revolution. And then when the working class becomes conscious of its own material interests, and with the assistance of the genius intelligentsia that is the proletariat, this bullshit. I learned this shit and I believe this shit. And that's been 20 years of my life of fucking hardcore socialist. The reason I'm not a socialist is because these are European white men who come up with an ideology that was racist and misogynist in its essence. Because true human development, true apex society can only occur through the genius of white people. When y'all niggas do it, it's primitive communalism. You weren't conscious of what you were doing. It's just how you primitive people lived. When we do it, it will be the evidence of scientific and mathematical teaching of the science of revolutionary process and what the inevitable outcome will be. You feel me? Socialism is dead, bitch. Socialism is dead. It's a done deal. Capitalism is dead too, but it's just putting up a hell of a better fight. Socialism being dead. Because we fear power, we dare not say, why don't we come up with something new? Socialism didn't work for the last 125 plus years. Why don't we just come up with something new? Just like them white people did when they came over here and was looking at the Iroquois, like they did when they was looking at the liberated women of of the Cushiatic Empire. It was like, why these women got so much freedom? The Greeks was like, why these women got so much freedom? They're like, what you mean freedom? They're like, damn, these women can just have sex with whoever they want. Okay, so can I. What you mad about? But they haven't. Isn't this your house? Don't you live in this house with this woman? Yeah. So why are we leaving? Because the shoes, man, the shoes are outside her door. The shoes are outside our door. He said, what's that mean? This is Greek. What's that mean when the shoes outside the door? It mean my wife got company, nigga. Like she got a boo up in there. It mean I need to come back when she finished. He like, the fuck? What you mean? She got a boo. I mean, she can do what the fuck she want. She a sovereign. You feel me? She a sovereign. You understand? So anyway, now I really need to go. This is so much fun though. But I'm gonna come back and finish this chapter. Today, as a matter of fact. Before I get busy, I gotta go get my old people lunch. You feel me? So let me go get my old people lunch. I'm gonna come back and finish reading this shit to y'all so I can get some other things done today. Okay? Hope you enjoyed it, because I still got more to put down on y'all. Y'all skull about to be shook today. I'm gonna come back in about an hour. Peace.